Hey everybody, this is Billy Jack, tape-op extraordinaire at CBS Sports Radio. You are listening to Mike Delivers with Mike Biseglia. Mike and I are both Nets fans, we like going for walks, and we both like getting food from the taco place.
Welcome inside Mike Delivers from his wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Here's your host, Mike Biseglia.
That's right, this is Mike Delivers, episode number 127, and I'm your host, Mike Biseglia, and I'm coming to you from my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Good to have you back, baby. I have done 1,722 deliveries. I have not and will not steal food from anybody. I have a 99% satisfaction rating, which basically means when I can focus, I'm a really good damn Uber Eats driver. Today I'm outside of the Sonic in Totowa, New Jersey. What a name for a town, Totowa. It sounds like, I don't know, Toyota. It's been good to get the car back. We've got stories from the road coming here on episode 127. Don't forget to check out the Mike Delivers Patreon page. Bonus content, bonus material, blind food taste tests. You get an extra podcast that's on video, so much more, so much extra content, and all of it goes to the Mike Delivers podcast network of love. Basically, it's all appreciated, and it's a good place. It's a good place if you're into this podcast to get more material. Head on over, check it out. Patreon.com, type in Mike Delivers, $4 a month. You get the hookup on a lot of extra content, which at this point now, you get about 40 to 50 extra podcasts that my wife and I basically have from quarantine on. We had a lot of time to talk, being stuck in the house, and, you know, as like everybody else, as all this crazy bullshit was going on in the world. I also want to say this: if you're interested in creating your own podcast, if you want to be a podcaster, maybe you're a small business and you're looking at podcasting as a different way to market your company, email theprosclub@gmail.com. My partner Anthony Pierno and I created this awesome podcast network. On there, you can create your own podcast. If you need more information, again, theprosclub@gmail.com. We'll be happy to help you out and hook you up. All right, we got stories from the road here coming up on episode 127. But I just got to say, God, does it feel good to be back in the car and getting it back. I know last time we spoke here on one of these odd number episodes, I had talked about the car not coming back and all the bullshit around it. Finally got it done. The issue was the Toyota dealership that I was dealing with, I like that. They had 3 people deal with the car because 2 of them quit in the 2 weeks I was trying to have them help me work with me and work with my insurance company. So it took forever. There was a lack of communication. It was like pulling teeth to get information and answers from them, which ended up being such a pain in my ass. But eventually we got it done, and the car looks great. But, you know, I've been back on the road. As I mentioned, 1,722 deliveries, so I've probably done like 50, 60 such deliveries. I actually got the car back right after I recorded the last episode last week. And on the Tuesday that these go out, I recorded it, then got the car back. You know, you definitely like heightened senses when you're on the road. And I pride myself in, I know it sounds crazy. You're like, oh, you've crashed a couple cars. But I really am paying attention on the road, and that's why I think I was really fortunate with the previous accident, because the guy running the red light, I was paying such close attention that, you know, I was able to see that he was coming. But, you know, there's just like this heightened sense of awareness now on the road. Like every time I'm on there, paying such close attention, and it is a little scary when you're driving, because I kind of have like flashbacks to all this shit that happened, because it does happen so fast when there is an accident. And my God, you just need to be like focused completely. And when I'm on the road now, like those moments will trickle in my head, and it gives me like a little jolt of like feeling, and just being thankful for everything being okay. So my little PSA here on episode 127 is truly do be careful when you are driving around, and make sure you are looking at all times on the frickin' road, because it is some scary shit. So, you know, with that said, and I won't make this a story from the road, but I'll just tell you this little caveat before we get there. I did a drop-off. I gave somebody their food, and I'm parked. And then I'm coming back towards my car, and this guy, this madman, is flying down the hill on his bike. and he just starts yelling, "Ah, ah, ah, get out of the way, get out of the way." So like I just go right back onto the sidewalk. I want nothing to do with this guy. I'm like, this guy's a loony. But this car doesn't see it, nearly fucking strikes the biker. And I'm just like, oh my God, people. One, this car was going way too fast down the road. Two, this biker needs to just kind of calm the fuck down and chill out, because you don't know what people like that are driving. And I was just like, man, I am not in the mood to see some biker get smashed after dropping off food. I think I was in East Orange, New Jersey, but holy shit, welcome back to the road. All right, story from the road time, episode 127. Let's get it. One of my favorite places to pick up from is the Taqueria in Montclair, New Jersey, because I've got the system down of where to illegally park, how to run into the store, and then away we go. And usually it's a good paying gig on these Taqueria deliveries. Not sure why. I think people just, wherever picks up from there likes to tip. The orders aren't like massive amounts, but there's just good general paying out jobs from the Taqueria. So I do like picking up from there. And the way it works for picking up along the Taqueria is there's parking spaces, and then it becomes like illegal parking with the yellow fire lane, but everybody that goes here double parks, puts on their flashers, and just runs into the Taqueria. And that's another reason I like it. The food is always frickin' ready. So I was always happy to get a Taqueria order. So I get there, double park the car. It's in an illegal zone. There happens to be somebody else doing the same thing as me as they're going inside. So go in, food's ready, get it, come back to my car. I'm noticing, though, as I'm going back to my car, there's a couple, and they're now parking their car illegally along the same lines because they see me and they see this other guy that's illegally parked or just double parked for a second. They think now this is somewhere they can park, and they're actually going to a Thai restaurant a little bit further down the street. And I said, I should probably tell these people, hey, you can't park here. Now, I'm going to the Taqueria. It takes, a matter of anywhere between 30 seconds to 60 seconds max. I'm telling you, I'm in and out of there, especially right now during the pandemic. These people were parking. They had a bottle of wine. They were going to a BYOB Thai place, and they thought this was an okay place to park. And I looked at them and I said, I probably should tell them this is illegal and they shouldn't park here, because I feel partially responsible because I helped create the scenario and the illusion that this is somewhere they can park. But I didn't say anything, and I let them park, and I moved out of the way, and I went. Am I an asshole for not saying something? Should I have said something? Am I wrong for it? I thought about it, and then I said, can't do it. Walked into a Wendy's. I believe I was in Clifton, New Jersey, and the drive-through line was insane, so I wanted nothing to do with that. So I ran into the restaurant, mask on, I'm oiling up my hands with, sanitizers, I'm being safe. There was a woman in the McDonald's, in the Wendy's, and I have to say this because all the tables are really gone, so you can't sit in there, but this woman was charging her phone, laying on the floor, and had a pillow. Did the Wendy's in Clifton allow a homeless woman to hang tight inside of the Wendy's? But she also had a phone that was charging. So I'm a little conflicted. Was this woman just hanging in the Wendy's? Did Wendy's not have a problem with her sitting there? If this woman was just hanging out in Wendy's, shouldn't they have kicked her out? Is it kind of a bad vibe to have somebody that's just sitting in a Wendy's now when you can't eat in there? I'm really confused. Was this woman homeless? Why did she have a cell phone? And why the fuck did Wendy's let her sit in there, take a nap? Was she going to bathe in the bathroom next? This to me was fascinating. I could not believe this. And it was simply unbelievable to see. Picked up from the McDonald's in Newark. I had an Uber Eats order. It was not quite ready yet, so hung out for a minute or two as I waited for the order to come together. A DoorDash driver then walked in, and she had a mask on that was a DoorDash mask. She also then had a hoodie, and on the front of the sweatshirt it said, "No peace, no p-." That's what her sweatshirt said. It said, "No peace, no p-." I could not imagine being a DoorDash or Uber Eats driver wearing that shirt, dropping off somebody's food, dropping off their Big Mac. Somebody opens the door, and there's your Uber Eats driver, there's your DoorDash driver, and their sweatshirt says, "No peace, no p-." I've mentioned this numerous times on the Mike Delivers podcast, The one thing I always want out of my restaurant when I go for a pickup is that I just want you to be honest to me. If it's going to take 5 minutes, let me know it's going to be 5 minutes. If it's going to take 20, just let me know it's going to take 20, and I'll move on to another restaurant. Got to one of my favorite spots, and I'm blank. I'm not going to say the name because I feel bad and awkward about this. This was a strange moment, though, and this was a ton of food on this order I was picking up for. It was a good paying job, so I wanted to get it. But there was like legit 15 to 20 items on here, and it's a small little kitchen. So one person, 2 people tops making this food at all times. And I see the order. They say, oh, it's not ready for Kimberly. And the guy goes, I go, how long will it be? He goes, 5 minutes. And I go, I can see in the kitchen, and there's none of the food's there. And I'm like, is this really 5 minutes? Just be honest with me. Like, I don't mind if it's more. I just need to know. Like, just be honest with me. And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, it's going to be longer. Okay, do you know about how much longer? Let me ask. He then goes to the lady that works there that was, at the time, she was cooking the food. And she goes, oh, I got this, 5 minutes. And he goes, oh, really? 5 minutes? You can make all of this in 5 minutes? And he looks at me and he says, it'll be 5 minutes. Of course, 15 minutes passes. This woman then leaves the kitchen, doesn't complete the order. The guy comes back to me and goes, I apologize. It's going to be a lot longer. I don't even know. Which is fine. I shouldn't have gone for it. That's on me. I should be more of a veteran to know when somebody's bullshitting me or not. I'll put the blame on myself. But what I found fascinating was, so enter person number 3. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So the woman, after this 15 minutes, doesn't complete the order. She actually leaves. Enters the third guy, and he starts yelling about the lady, saying, she's the worst, she's controlling me, I could do a better job with this food. And I was like, whoa. Looking at this internal conflict, I felt like I was part of the staff. It's amazing the things you'll see, and people will open up to your Uber Eats Mike Delivers driver. Be careful what you say to people. You never know. There could be an Uber Eats driver with a podcast talking about it. I always like to be the guy that becomes friends with everybody in these places now. Maybe not like I normally would do this, but I think it's fun for content in the restaurant, or for the podcast, going to these restaurants. So I was picking up from the Montclair Vegan in Montclair, New Jersey. Cool spot if you just eat vegan. They do a play on a lot of different foods, and it's always busy. So they must be doing a huge amount of Uber Eats orders. I'm at this spot all the time. Parking a little pain in the ass, but it is what it is. So I picked up an order there, and like I said, the parking was a pain in the ass. All the way down the street, double park. So I'm getting a little antsy. Like I don't want to get a ticket or anything. So I go in there. The food's not ready, but the guy's like, I'm packing it all up now, and he's got about 6 dishes, and he's packing it up. Puts it together, staple. The guy from the kitchen goes, whoa, one more. So then my man that I'm talking with in the front that just did all the stapling goes back to the kitchen, and they're having a conversation back and forth like who's on first. Man in the kitchen, I got one more dish. Man stapling. Is this for the order you just put together? Man in kitchen, I've got one more dish. Is this for the one that's the bag I just did? Going back and forth. Massive confusion. They don't know what's going on. They finally figure it out. Now, this is the part of the story I kind of want some information on, or feedback from you guys. I go to the guy that did the stapling like, oh man, he did a really poor job explaining that to you. I didn't understand what was going on. I was hoping for a smile there. Didn't get a smile. He just looked at me, handed me the bag, and said, thank you. Did I overstep my boundaries? Did I go too far? Should I have not tried to make a little friendship with the guy there? I thought I did the right thing. I guess I overstepped my boundaries, but I will always have the back of the people in the restaurants trying to help out. So excuse me for being an Uber Eats delivery driver with a podcast that really likes to make friends, especially for those local businesses that I pick up from. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories from the road here on episode 127. And I just want to say, this has been such a great past month for the Mike Delivers podcast. Getting downloads like never before. The numbers are up. I don't know why, but I do know why. It's for people like you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for sharing the Mike Delivers podcast with other people. It's truly been a phenomenal time. I love doing this. And I'll be honest, like, it's a little more worrisome and scary now that I quit CBS Sports Radio. I got a lot invested in making this podcast work, and seeing the numbers rise and gain like they have has been incredible. Like when I was first doing this podcast and I put the first couple ones out, there was like 15 people listening, 15 downloads, 30 downloads a week. And, it's a slow grind, and you got to build the brand. You got to keep sharing awareness on the podcast. And it's been really cool to get all of this different connection level with old friends, making new friends. Now it would be weird to think of doing the Mike Delivers podcast and not sitting down with my wife once a week, or twice a week because of Patreon, and talking about different foods, or doing blind food taste tests, or talking about what it's like being an Uber Eats driver. And I truly did, and I'll tell kind of the backstory to this and kind of go back in time, which you can hear on episode 1. But my timeline, basically, at the time I was doing the morning show, I was doing Taz and the Moose on CBS Sports Radio, and I had probably gotten good at the job, and I had the whole afternoon and evenings free. So I needed something to do in the afternoons and evening, just so I wasn't just, fiddling my thumbs. Now I have a baby, it's a little different. But my wife's like, why don't you just do this Uber Eats? And I was like, I don't want to be an Uber Eats driver. That's kind of weird. I'm a CBS producer. I can't do that. But, I said, you know what? Jess is always right. She has my best interest. She's usually right on these ideas. Why not take a chance and do it? And I did it. And I remember that first day vividly because of the surprise, anxiety, and nervousness all on these orders. Like, I remember going to the IHOP, which was the first pickup in Bloomfield, and being like, what do I do? How do I swipe it? I asked the person that worked in IHOP how to manage the app. And she was like, well, I've seen drivers come in with this, but I don't really know. And I remember getting the food, dropping it off, and the excitement level that I had in doing that, I was like, this is incredible. So fast forward a couple weeks later, I was like, telling all these people all these crazy stories and all this crazy shit that was happening on the road as an Uber Eats driver. And from there, I was like, well, fuck it. Let's do a podcast about it. And of course, it was called Basketball Drives. And my idea at the time was to talk a little basketball, which I did, and I had some fun with that. But, my passion really is more on the food side of things. And that's why when we made the name change to Mike Delivers, you could deliver anything from basketball, food, all sorts of different content. And I think the name really ties in and obviously works well together. But I remember that first order, forgetting the strawberry compote. If you want to go back, I think kind of it's weird. Go back and listen to episode 1 of Basketball Drives. It sounds like a completely different podcast. I mean, the production level, I'm sitting in my car with a different microphone, so that kind of sort of sounded like shit. But, it's all part of the evolution, all part of growing this podcast. And again, thank you guys so much for continuing to do this. So I'll end on this note for the Mike Delivers podcast. Like, give me a tip. If there's something you don't like with this podcast, tell me about it. Email me, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com. DM me. Follow me on Twitter, MikeDeliversPod on Twitter, Instagram. DM me. Is there something you like? Is there something you don't like? Do you want to hear more food reviews? Do you like the stories from the road? Do you hate the interviews? Do you love the interviews? Tell me about it. I think it's all cool into this melting pot of what this podcast is, but your feedback is always appreciated. And don't forget, if you have not, give a 5-star rating on Apple. That really helps and goes a long way in the future of the Mike Delivers podcast. Again, you can find my Patreon page, Mike Delivers. Head on over to patreon.com or get the Patreon app on your phone. And if you want to create your own podcast, theprosclub.com at Gmail, or I should say the Pros Club at gmail.com. The website is the Pros Club. We can make a podcast for you. Create your own podcast. It's all there for you. Happy to give you more details about it. Or, like I said before, just let me know what you think about this podcast. I'm happy to hear it, and I want to improve it. Like, I think things are going in the right direction, but it doesn't mean you rest on your laurel. You don't rest on laurel, okay? No resting on laurel today. That's the bottom line. This has been the Mike Delivers podcast, episode 127. I want to give a special shout out, a thank you, of course, to my guys, The Beautiful Noise. They made this awesome podcast. They are the soundtrack. They've made the music to this. I'm getting all jumbled. They are the music to this podcast. Without them, it would not be the same. Thank you, guys. This has been episode 127. I can now say it. We'll see you next time. 128, a little more side dish bash. What do we got going on? A little guacamole battle.